Today we are looking at how to adjust the Titleist TSi2 driver. Lucky you if you own a TSi2 with its incredible face, produced by the Pittsburgh-based company Allegheny Technologies Incorporated. It's 425 aerospace titanium and it is right on the USGA's CT and COR limits. It's incredibly fast and durable. Now this TSi2 is the version that will appeal to most golfers. It's gorgeous to look at and it's engineered to be extremely long and forgiving right out of the box, really. This weight pad that you'll notice on the back of the sole here, it gives the TSi2 a high launch, low spin trajectory, and if you look closely at it, you'll see that it is removable and interchangeable with other weights. But this would really only be in a custom fitting environment. So our advice is to leave this weight be. It is already optimized to make this driver as forgiving and long as possible. So let's get on to what we can and should be adjusting in the TSi2. And if you own a TSi1 or TSi4 driver, this video will be just the same. The adjustment is the same. So when you buy your TSi driver, it will come with a simple adjustment wrench like this one, which will allow you to remove this head and to add or reduce loft and make this driver have a draw or fade bias. But let's start with the basics, and if you've never used the adjustment wrench before, first of all, let's look at the opening and locking mechanisms of the screws. Now, to open or loosen any screw in your driver, you simply place the wrench into the top of the screw and you'll turn it anti-clockwise like so. Now, to tighten the screw, you just do the opposite, you turn it clockwise. Now these screws that secure the shaft in place here at the hosel, and all these screws in these drivers, when fully tightened, they make an audible click sound to let you know the sleeve is locked in place and to avoid over tightening. And it should sound like that. So let's go ahead, shall we, and open up this shaft screw here. I usually hold it in my thumb and finger to keep the head nice and steady, but when fully opened, as it is now, the head can be easily removed from the shaft. And you'll notice there are two rings then on the hosel. The top ring here has letters and the bottom ring on it has numbers. These all correspond to settings on what's called a Titleist Sure Fit chart. There are actually 16 different possible settings. We can raise loft by up to 1.5 degrees or lower it by 0.75 degrees. We can also make the lie up to 1.5 degrees more upright or make the lie 0.75 degrees flatter. But you don't really need to worry about any of that because it can be made very simple, really. When the driver is assembled in the factory, it is set to the standard loft and lie position, and that's this A1 position, just like this, lined up with this dot. Now if I pop the Sure Fit chart up on the screen, you can see to the left of that A1 position there are more draw and more upright settings, and to the right of position A1 you have more fade and more flat settings. So let's say I'm happy with the standard loft of this driver, 10 degrees, but I want to make this club so that it draws the ball the most. Now I can see on the chart that I need to find position A2. In that case, I'm going to spin the rings from position A1 to A2, then reattach the head lined up like this. If I wanted to hit the ball as high as possible and add as much draw as possible, I can see on the chart I need to move it to position A3. Again, swivel the rings, line up the setting with the little dot and reattach. Now let's do one more draw setting. Just say I want to reduce loft but still add as much draw as possible. That is position D2 on the Sure Fit chart, and again I dial in the setting on the hosel and reattach. Now let's do some fade settings. Keeping standard loft 10 degrees but adding a fade bias means I need to move from the standard A1 position to B1. Adding max loft and maximum fade, I can see on the chart that that is position B4. And reducing loft with maximum fade, I would need to find position C1. So once you have the Sure Fit chart and identify on there what you want the ball to do in terms of going high or low or draw or fade, it's actually really simple to choose whatever setting you like, and it takes literally seconds to change. And as always, You can change back to the standard position A1 at any time, so do not be afraid to experiment and have a play with all the settings. Now, if you're left-handed, it's worth noting that the SureFit system is different for lefties, but don't worry, we have you covered. We have a separate Titleist SureFit left-handed adjustment video on the Golfbidder YouTube channel. We'll also put a link to it on this video. Now, if you own a Titleist TSi3 driver, that one is also slightly different from these in the fact that it also has an adjustable sliding weight. So we also have a separate video explaining how to adjust that. And it's very important to remember that you can adjust your driver on the practice ground or at any time before or after your round, but just not during it. There's my click. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do press like and subscribe to the Golfbidder YouTube channel. And of course, stay up to date with the very latest on Golfbidder Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For me for now though, with the Titleist TSi2, a gorgeous driver, it's Donal out.